A bonus feature in this video, the pictured MPU that I'm building is populated to the exact minimum required for a WPC MPU to boot. I have one of the vaunted DumbAss, aka Victor of the Northwest, CPU boards on my bench. This one's a WPC/WPC-S. It has the daughter board that plugs in and provides the security chip feature. And the client had taken this thing to the 99-yard line and was having some trouble with the sound. So I have accepted the challenge of figuring out what wasn't right here. And I found several things. The first thing was the design of this board makes it easy to sort of divide and conquer. So the first thing I did was set this 2-pin selection jumper over to WPC, remove the WPC-S daughter card completely, populated the 2 chips that are shown here missing, and then this thing turns into a WPC CPU board, which is super nice. But I couldn't get it to boot even then, and the problem I detected after thinking about it for a little while, and I used the technique where I rake the pins. I put black on pin 1, then rake 2 through 40, black on pin 2, rake 3 through 40, etc. Indicated that data line 0 and data line 1 were connected. So I made a map of all of the chips that could possibly do that, and there were about 6 or 7. Turned out the ASIC was responsible. Data 0 and 1 are in the corner. It's either this one or this one, I don't remember. And on the ASIC itself, here's an ASIC, the pins were touching on the corner. And I'll roll in the picture of that. And those pins were shorting D0 and D1 together. And of course, the CPU is not going to boot if that's the case. Other things I found, the displays were failing display test, and there were some display anomalies I could see. And there's a SIP resistor. It's supposed to be a 4.7K, and it is a pull-up resistor that guarantees that the data bus lines are high unless this chip drives them low. And somehow a 470 ohm SIP resistor was installed. So I pulled it, put the 4.7K back in there, good to go. Minor things, this block was installed upside down, so the in-out that's nicely silk screened onto the PCB was backwards. So I took this block off and flipped it over. Added a jumper here so the 12 volt indication would come on, and replaced some more economical, I'll say, although these things cost a penny a piece, jumpers that the client had created with real jumpers. And so there are 5 of those, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And it is good to go. Now, the client was building this one as a spare. I tested it with fishtails ROMs for WPC89 configuration, and as you can see, whodunit ROMs in the WPC-S configuration, which necessitated me burning a full set of WPC-S whodunit ROMs, and now we can test the sound.
Looked up and saw Lady Jackpot with all her beauty. Tell me more about tech.
Father always had a bad temper.
So that is working quite nicely. Now, let's go back and test all the other functions. Switch test. And you can see whodunit doesn't use that rightmost column. so that it's not populated in the matrix diagram. Test solenoid test. See, it skipped solenoid 6 there. That is not used apparently in this game. And it skipped 14 also. That long solenoid pulse was a motor or something else. GI test. Well done. Let's test lamps and flashers at the same time. Here's the solenoid 14 is repurposed for a flasher. And the lamps are working perfectly. This is where I was seeing some errors also. Clearly, if the data bus is not being held up correctly between being pulled to ground, then you're going to see display errors. And I was seeing paging errors at this point, and it was failing the RAM test, because there are more ways to fail a RAM test than a failed RAM, of course. The ribbon cables between the CPU and the soundboard, whether it's pre-DCS, DCS, or AV board, need to be solid. And of course, these chips that are communicating with that board need to be working properly also. Let's skip that part. And this, really super nice multi-function CPU board is good to go now. I don't have anything that I'd otherwise critique. I think the user did a really nice job in putting this together. So it's kind of a fun project, sourcing all the parts, and there's really not that many. So something kind of cool to do in your downtime this winter if you'd like to. Thank you so much for sending it. I really enjoyed taking care of this board. I did install an NVRAM for you. So Merry Christmas.